Good morning, students. Welcome back to another language arts session. Today we're going to be looking at a special punctuation mark. So let's begin. On your screen, there are 3 punctuation marks. Can you identify the following punctuation marks? What do you know about these marks? So let's look on the one on your left. Do you know it? What about the second one? What about the last one? Do you know their names? Well, let's see if you are correct. So the first punctuation mark that you saw is called a single quotation mark. Now, as you know, there are 2 sets of English rule. We have the British rule and we have the American rule. We know that across the world, the British rule is a rule that is used. Now, in the British English, the single quotation mark is used to indicate a person's direct speech. What do I mean by this? What a person said. The opposite is done as it relates to American English. So for American English, they use the double quotation mark. Yes, in Jamaica we do as well. Even myself is guilty of using the double quotation mark. We just need to be careful as it relates to the rules. The second punctuation mark is your semicolon. Now the semicolon is used to connect 2 complete sentences and show that they are related. So there are times where a full stop is not used. Instead, a writer will use a semicolon to show a relationship between 2 complete sentences. So what about the third punctuation mark? It is called the comma. So today we're going to be focusing on the comma. So as we go into a lesson, there are a few things I want you to keep in mind. What is a comma? When do we use a comma? What should we do when we see a comma? When should a comma never be used? So these are 4 things that we're going to be looking out for as we go along in our lesson. So I'm going to be starting today's lesson with a poem. And this poem is entitled Comma Man. My name is Man. I always have a plan. I stand between names like Tammy, Sam, and Dan. I don't stand alone. I always have a home. I roam between 1 and 2 or even 3, but never before the conjunction "and" in a series. So when you see me standing around, don't make a sound. I am the silent man who likes to hang around. So, question. Have you figured out any of the rules as it relates to commas? Well, we're going to be seeing if you're correct shortly. So, first we need to ask ourselves is, what is a comma? Can anybody state what is a comma for me? Well, a comma is a punctuation mark. It's the first thing that we know about punctuation. A comma. The punctuation mark. The second thing we know about it is that it has the same shape as an apostrophe and a single quotation mark. However, it differs from them as it sits on the line. That means when you are writing, it sits at the bottom, on the line. Now, there is also one more important thing we need to know about the comma. It is used to connect new ideas to old ones and to tell the reader when to pause. A moment in their thinking or in their speaking if they are reading out aloud. So usually we pause for a second. So let's move on to our next question that we are supposed to be thinking about. And that is, what should we do when we see a comma? And I just stated it. So, whenever we see a comma, we should pause for a second. A comma is considered to be a soft stop, but it is not as final as a full stop. Now, what should a comma never be used? When should a comma never be used? Well, when listing items in a series, a comma is never placed before the conjunction "and." If you are an American citizen and you live in America, you will be told that you place a comma before "and." However, in Jamaica, we are supposed to use the British English system. And when we use the British English system, we do not place a comma before the conjunction and. So, now we are going to be exploring our rules as it relates to when we use commas. And there are basically 4 different rules. We have explored one when we looked on conjunction. And I do hope you remember that particular rule. For today's class, we are going to be exploring the other 3 rules. And guess what? I know you know them. So let's get into it. So, a comma is used to, first thing, to separate words in a simple series of 3 or more items. The comma is placed between each member of the list. As I mentioned to you, importantly, no comma is placed before the conjunction and. So let's explore this example. The first example says, Mrs. Brown bought rice, flour, sugar, and milk at the supermarket. So we know that she bought 4 different items. So we can separate them. So we know rice, we know flour, sugar is just before the word and, so we know that sugar is a 1 by itself, and the milk is a 1 by itself. So no comma is placed after sugar. Let's move on to our second example. Our second example says, Sam swims, walk, and run every day. So, if I could say that faster, because guess what? There is no comma there. So if I say swim walk, I don't know how we swim walk. I know how we can swim and I know how we can walk. So we know that it's 2 different things. So we can say Samuel swims, comma, walks. We don't need a comma because and is there, and runs every day. Alright, so let's try to see if we can master these 2 examples that we're going to be looking on. And the first example says, Andrew, Lisa, Stacy, Roy, and Mario are at the park. How many commas do you need to insert? If you say 3, then you are correct. So let's see where you're going to be placing them. So Andrew, comma, Lisa, comma, Stacy, comma, Roy, and Richard. So we know that there are 5 persons that went to the park. Let's go to number 2. Number 2 says, if you buy fruit, vegetable, and the grocery and the supermarket, is there any such word as fruit, vegetable? No. So, how many commas are you going to be using in this sentence? You're going to be using 1. Fruit, comma, vegetable. Alright, let's move on. Then we're looking on rule number 2. Rule number 2 says, between the date and year. So, when we write out the date, like we normally do in class, a comma should be placed between the day and the year being written. Example, our doctor's appointment is on December 18, 2021. So if you notice, after 21, she's telling me the day in the month, I place my comma. Example number 2. November 15, 2021 is Sam's birthday party. So we know that on the 15th day of November 2021, we can attend this birthday party. So, let's try these 2 examples. First example, our class party will be on December 18, 2021. Where are you going to be placing your apostrophe? You're going to be placing it just after 18. Number 2. April 15, 2021 is my doctor's appointment. Where are you going to be placing your comma? You're going to be placing it just after 15. 15th day of April. Let's move on to rule number 3. And rule number 3 says, between the names of places, a comma is placed between the names of towns or communities and the parish. Example, Jane lives in the community of Boston, Portland. So what do I know? That Boston is found in the parish of Portland, based upon the comma being there. Next example, is your mom from Norwich, Portland? So we do know that Norwich is in the parish of Portland. So let's try these 2 and see if we can get them correct. First one says, my family lives in Port Antonio, Portland. Where are you going to be placing your comma? We place the comma just after Port Antonio. Number 2. Have you ever visited Black River, St. Elizabeth? Where are you going to be placing your comma? You place your comma just after Black River. Let's continue. So hope you got it correct. So we're going to be doing an activity where I'm going to be testing you to see if you have learned the 3 rules that we are looking on today. So the instruction says, insert the comma in the correct spots. So number 1 says, the students went to the zoo on March 22, 2021. Where are you going to be placing your comma? Well, if you say that the comma is supposed to be placed after 22, then you are correct. Number 2. Hope Zoo is found in Kingston, Jamaica. Where are you going to be placing the comma? Let's see if we're correct. If you placed it just after Kingston, then you are correct. So we know that Kingston is found in Jamaica. Number 4. Lisa Pam Jody and Paul saw many animals. Lisa, Paul, Jody saw many animals. Where are you going to be placing your comma? How many commas do you need? Well, if you say 3, you're incorrect. If you say 2, you're correct. But where are you going to be placing them? Well, 1 goes after Lisa and 1 goes after Pam. None goes after Jody. Number 4. We saw animals such as the lion parrots, crocodiles, monkeys, and snakes. How many commas do you need for this sentence? Well, if you say 3, you might be correct. If you say 4, you might be correct. But let's see if 3 is correct or 4 is correct. So, lion, comma, 1, parrot, 2, crocodile, 3. So you needed 3 commas. Let's move on to number 5. For lunch, we ate chips, chicken, mashed potato, and pizza. How many commas do you need? If you say 2, then you are correct. So 1 goes after chips and 1 goes after chicken. Number 6, Feijiang soda water and orange juice. All my comments are needed in this sentence. If you say 2, you're incorrect. If you are saying 3, you're incorrect. Your answer is 1 after soda. So they drank soda, water, and orange juice. Number 7. Number 7 says, after lunch, they met their friends Tim, Tam, John, Paul, and Joe. How many commas are you going to be needed? 2, 3, 4. Which is your answer? So let's see if you're correct. So 1 after Tim, 2 after Dan, 3 after John. Your answer is 3. Number 8. We are going to visit Dunsmuir Falls, St. Anne as well. Where are you going to be placing your comma? It's placed after Dunsmuir Falls, because we know that Dunsmuir Falls is found in St. Anne. And number 9. Number 9 says, they plan to go on August 19, 2021. How many commas do you need? You need 1. And where are you going to be placing this comma? After 19. Correct. So, we've come to the end of this activity. So let's recap our rules that we looked on today. With 3 rules. So a comma is used to separate words in a simple series of 3 or more items. It is used between the date and the year, and is also used between the names of towns or communities and the parish. It's now time for your class activity, and there are several easy sentences that you will have to complete. The instruction says, insert the correct comma in the correct place to complete each sentence. 1. My birthday was on May 25, 2021. 2. My favorite animals are sheep, deer, cats, and dogs. 3. There are desks, chairs, and tables in my class. 4. KFC is located on West Street, Portland. 5. Your dentist appointment will be on September 25, 2021 at 9 a.m. 6. Mother bought eggs, bread, cheese, and orange juice at the supermarket. And number 7. Have you ever been to Manchester? Mandeville, Manchester. So have a wonderful day, students, and I'll see you again soon.